Hello, grammarians! So I've talked about the idea of verb tense, which is the ability to situate words in time. But today I'd like to talk about verb aspect, which is kind of like tense, but more so. Let me explain what that means. So with basic verb tense, we can distinguish between the present, the future, and the past, right? So now, later, then, right? Past, present, and future. So I could say, simply, I walk, I will walk, and I walked. So this is the past, this is the present, and this is the future. So that's verb tense, but what's really cool about verb aspect is it's this tool that really allows us to expand all the possible ways of expressing something in time. So you could just say, I walk, true, but you could also say, I am walking, or I'm walking. Or you could say, I have walked, or I have been walking. All of these things are different aspects. They're different versions of the verb to walk in the present tense. And we'll explain all of those. They'll each get their own video, but I just wanted to impress upon you the idea that within every tense, past, present, and future, there are also 4 mini tenses or baby tenses, and this is what we call aspect. And we'll get to the names of those later. Don't worry about that now. I just wanted to just plant the seed. You can learn anything. David out. Hello, grammarians. Now, previously we had spoken about the basic idea of verb aspect, which is kind of like tenses for tenses. And I know that's a little wheels within wheels, ridiculous, but we'll make sense of it. What aspect allows you to do is situate more exactly your verbs in time. So if you're telling a story and you want to indicate when something happened in that story, then you would use verb tense to indicate when it happened. And the next layer of complexity after that, in terms of being specific about when stuff happens in time, is aspect. But I'm going to teach you today about the simple aspect, which I don't really need to teach you about, to be frank, because you already know what it is. It's been staring at us this entire time. The simple aspect is really just the bare tense of whatever conjugation you choose to do. So if you're talking at the present tense right here, so you say I walk, that's it. That's simple. It doesn't indicate anything else about whether or not the walking is completed or the walking is ongoing. It's just I walk. Same thing with the future. I will walk. Same thing with the past. I walked. If it doesn't have any helper verbs for the past or the present, and the only helper verb it has for the future is will, then it's simple. That's it. That's the bare minimum required to express the idea using that tense. That's the simple aspect. You can learn anything. David out. Hello, grammarians. Let's talk about the progressive aspect. So we talked about the simple aspect as something that is just the most bare form. It's what you see here. I walk, I will walk, I walked. But aspect allows us to talk about things that are ongoing. And that's what we call the progressive, because it's progressing, it's going, it's happening. So if we are telling a story and we are inside that moment, we can use the progressive aspect. So I walk becomes, in the present, I am walking. So the way the progressive works is that it takes the form of to be for whatever the subject of the sentence is, in this case I, and it changes the verb into an ing verb. That's what it does. That's what the progressive does. And its effect is to say that something is ongoing. This is also called the continuous aspect, but I like to call it the progressive aspect. Let's try this in all the different basic conjugations. So we call this the present progressive. Let's try the past progressive. So if it says I walked, we would just take the verb to be and then put it in the past. So this part doesn't change. The walking doesn't change. You would say I was walking. Likewise for the future. So we're not going to change the walking part. We're just going to put this am part into the future, which is like so. I will be walking. That's the future progressive. So the way to remember the progressive aspect is for me to hideously butcher the writing of David Mamet and tell you to always remember your ABCs. Always be conjugating. And conjugating here is just a word that means to put verbs in different tenses and aspects. But I really want you to focus on the fact that we've got this be and this ing. So just remember be and ing, and that's how you form the progressive. So no matter whether or not it's happening in the past, it's still I was walking. So the part that changes is the be, is the verb to be. I was walking, I am walking, I will be walking. The part that doesn't change is the walking. And that's how you express that something is ongoing, that something is continuously happening in the telling of the story. Understanding this will enable you to master time. You can learn anything. David out. Hello, grammarians. Today I want to talk to you about the idea of the perfect aspect of verbs. And what that means is that it's not, beyond reproach or that it's like beautiful and shiny. No. What it means is really that whatever we're talking about, whatever action we are talking about is complete. So we use the perfect aspect in all tenses to illustrate when something has been completed prior to the present moment. So when we talk about the present, we're talking about one point now. But when we use aspect, it enables us to talk about a period between then and now. You're speaking in the now, referring to a point previous. So we could say, using the perfect, the way you form the perfect is you simply add have, and then you use the past form of the verb. So if my assignment, for example, were to wash some dishes, when the dishes were complete, I would say to the person that told me to wash the dishes, I have washed the dishes. So I'm using the present tense form of to have and the past tense form of washed. So as with the progressive aspect, the thing that changes is the helper verb. This part, the main verb, does not change. It remains in the past tense even if we're talking about the present or the future. The part that changes is have. So if we want to put this story in the past, talk about a period that is then, but also say that we wash the dishes at a period before then, right? A time before the moment in the past that we're talking about, if that makes sense. We would say, I had washed the dishes. And if we want to talk about something in the future that happens before that future moment, but after now, we would use the future perfect to say, I will have washed the dishes. And that's what the perfect aspect allows us to do. It allows us to travel backward in time a little bit extra. It allows us to say, oh, well, before the point in this story that I'm mentioning, this thing was already completed. So the perfect enables us to say, here is a thing that happened in the past. Here is a verb action that has completed in the past prior to the moment I'm talking about. So to recap, the perfect refers to something finished. You can learn anything. David out. Hello, grammarians. Previously, I had covered 3 of the basic aspects of English, and that's simple, perfect, and progressive. And so there's just one more, and it's a combination of the last 2, and it's called the perfect progressive. And to recap what those 2 things do, is what the perfect does is it denotes something that is complete, and the progressive notes something that has been ongoing. And it seems like those 2 things together don't make a whole lot of sense, but I promise that they do. You can use the perfect progressive aspect to say that you've been doing something for a long time, or you will have done something for a long time, or that you had been doing something continuously in the past and now it's stopped. So let me explain how the perfect progressive is constructed. You take the verb to have, and then you combine it with the word been, and then the verb in question, and then the ending ing. So as with all of our aspects, the only part that changes is this have stuff. This is the only word that changes depending on which tense you situate it in. So in the past, you would say I had been eating cookies. In the present, you would say I have been eating cookies. And in the future, you can say, I will have been eating cookies. So you can use the perfect progressive aspect in a couple of different ways. You can say that something had been ongoing in the past and is now done. You can say that it's been ongoing in the past and is still happening now. I have been eating cookies all morning and I have no intent to stop. Or you can use the perfect progressive to say how long something has been going on. So you can say, I will have been eating cookies for 40 years come next Thursday and I have no regrets. You can say how long something has been going on using this aspect. But you get the idea. So the perfect progressive is formed by combining have, and have is the part that changes, I had been, I have been, I will have been, with been, and the verb in question with an ing ending. You can learn anything. David out.